Hello and welcome to CIO Leadership Live in ASEAN. My name is James Henderson, Editorial Director of CIO based in Singapore, and I'll be your host today as we welcome Sanjay Thomas, CIO of AIS in Bangkok and our CIO 75 honoree. Sanjay, how are you doing?
Very well, James. So happy to be here.
It's good to see you and thank you for joining us. Now, a lot to discuss today around your modernization strategies, how you're becoming a cognitive telco. Firstly, I think before we get into it, a little bit around the concept of cognitive telco, how that's been implemented and reasons for the launch.
So in short, the way I define a cognitive telco is as an intelligent enterprise that uses or leverages exponential technologies such as AI and ML and cloud and 5G to become a thinking enterprise. So there should be no surprise there. That's the cognitive piece in it. But what people sometimes forget to consider is the cognitive telco really is the icing on top of the cake. In order to get to cognitive, we have to modernize the telco, modernize the IT in the telco, which means doing a lot of foundational work in order to get there. So that's really where a lot of my energies are focused on, because I need to get the foundation piece just right. So across infrastructure, application, changing the culture and the way we do development, bringing in automation, all of those kind of go hand in hand with getting to the cognitive vision.
So the path to an intelligent enterprise, as you mentioned there, it's not as simple as just overnight switch to becoming a cognitive telco. How has that foundational work been? How have you prioritized the apps, the infrastructure, the culture?
Yep. So it's going well. We are early days. So we're in year one of our cognitive telco transformation. Our focus, when I look at the cognitive telco, I look at achieving it through 4 or 5 distinct lenses. So if you look at there's the human experience factor. So I say human rather than just customer, because in the modern enterprise, I have to think about customers, employees, and partners. All of them together form that human experience. I have to apply data strategically to those experiences that those 3 entities would have with us in order to maximize their stickiness or retention or us being the partner of choice with our ecosystem partners. The second aspect is I need to ensure that the ecosystem is expanded, because in this modern context, I'm going to be moving away from traditional telco products. So, which means I'm going to be partnering with banks, with insurance companies, with hospitals, with education centers. So I want to make my environment and my ecosystem accessible, but also secure. It has to be resilient. It has to be on the cloud. So all of those necessary aspects have to go in to address the machine component of what I'm doing. And then a lot of the transformation that you'll see, especially in this part of the world, is usually very front office centric. And I think, you take something, you take a form, you put it out on the web, you go from a assisted service to a self-service kind of paradigm, and you think you've achieved transformation. But I think that's just the step one. The real efficiencies come when you start to modernize the back offices, which means you have to take workflows and make them automated. You need to take out the human component. You need to reduce, the drudgery aspects of processing things that usually remain untouched because it's very complicated to do. And you need to do it very strategically in order to not, wreck your business. So that would be my third component. And then the fourth one is the culture thing that you alluded to, which is kind of changing mindsets. I think in general, if you look at industries, telco does have a workforce that's very loyal. Just typically, you have people here with very long service, and I don't think it's just at AIS. So kind of changing those mindsets and getting them to think in a more agile, in a more iterative manner, moving away from risk-averse kind of mindsets to taking on more calculated risks in order to drive our transformation. All of those kind of come part and parcel with me as being a change agent. And then because it's cognitive, the final component is kind of like liberating the data. The data is trapped in silos. We're not using it to the extent that we want to do it. So whether this means coming up with, more impactful customer 360 or next best offers or next best actions on the customer side, or maybe even knowing more about the way our employees interact and what their wants and needs are, and using that to help drive retention or attracting talent. All of those are very worthy goals. And then finally, with our partners, we want to make sure that when our partners want to work with us, there are no kind of onerous barriers to entry to working with a large company like AIS. We want to make it smooth, which means maybe we expose our ecosystem through partner APIs so that a small fintech could partner with us just as easily as a big bank. You don't need a large IT department if you want to have to work with AIS. So this is kind of like the overall vision of how I see the cognitive telco progressing.
Lots of moving parts there, Sanjay, covering all elements, right? The technology, the business, the ecosystem. And you mentioned, just before we get a little bit deeper as well into some of that work you've been doing, you mentioned around the new partnerships and banks just being an example there. Yeah. How is your evolution in alignment and in parallel with the evolution and digitization taking place in Thailand? Because I know you just mentioned banks as an example, but that is a good example of completely changing ecosystem in relation to digital transformation.
Yeah. See, Thailand always surprises me in a very pleasant manner in terms of the extent of digitization that the country is embarking on. We have a pretty young population and a population that's really keen to make their mark. So what we have here, for example, in the pandemic, a lot of the stimulus that the government gave to the common citizen was through digital means, and so we were able to target it and focus on areas like tourism that had suffered indiscriminately compared to the other industries. We were able to reduce fraud in the system because of the very nature of how we were disbursing the payments. So all of these things augur very well for the future of Thailand. We've participated in things such as the vaccine pre-booking. AIS was a partner with the Thai government, and it was really a very kind of great use of technology. We used our cloud-based applications to allow and to scale for the very high demand during the vaccine pre-booking that we needed to get done. So that was a great example of where we were poised and just at the right point in our journey in order to kind of apply technology for societal good. So that was a real win in terms. But overall, I think Thailand is doing a lot of very interesting work. We've just passed a PDPA, Personal Data Privacy Act, which is very much in line with GDPR in Europe. So that's a fairly visionary kind of mindset for how the government of Thailand is supporting, acknowledging the increasing importance of data privacy for the citizen and ensuring that it's not unduly exploited. We are doing a lot of interesting work. You've probably heard of the smart cities initiatives and such. All of this, I think, kind of reflects very well and is kind of in the spirit of the times in terms of the changes I'm making within the organization and what kind of the general movement of Thai society towards a more digital future.
It's great to see, and Sanjay, a couple of great examples there of Thailand moving forward at pace and the key telcos and technology companies alongside as well. So it's great, and some really strong examples there that I suppose have just been a byproduct of the situation we've been in over the last few years. But to your point, you're in a position to respond and to react and to support. So it's great to see. And you mentioned on the modernization strategy and those 5 key elements. Now, if I'm a CIO watching this, trying to find some inspiration, I'm sure the first question might be, okay, well, how do you prioritize? Do you do them all at the same time? Is it in order or is that the point? It's so many balls in the air and you kind of go with the flow.
Well, yeah, there's many balls in the air. I've been in the position for a bit under 2 years now at AIS. And so when I first came here, there were just opportunities to apply my skills and knowledge in many areas. I had to be kind of judicious in my choice of what I wanted to do, because nobody wants to suffer a failure when you're trying to do a transformation, because that can put a real, take the wind out of your sails. So I looked at a combination of, quick wins coupled with some difficult initiatives. So on the more ambitious side, I took on the cloud transformation. We signed we signed a strategic partnership agreement with Microsoft to move half our workloads to the Azure cloud in the next 4 years. So that we're year one into that, and that's going very well. So, and we're not doing just kind of lift and shift to the cloud. We're actually using this as an opportunity to refactor and retire technical debt and optimize our applications before we move them. So that's going pretty well. We're doing a large internal business transformation through, an S4HANA project and trying to make our internal systems work not only more efficiently, but bringing them to in line with global standard processes and move away from some customization. In the last couple of years, the preferences of Thai customers have also changed in the pandemic in terms of online shopping preferences and moving away from bricks and mortar. And so, building a very robust omni-channel platform has been a big priority of mine. And then, I can't forget security, because security is existential, as you well know. So we focus a lot of time on ensuring that our experiences are safe and AIS is made secure in everything that we do. So all of this kind of makes for a pretty heavy agenda, and really the fuel of that the talent is a key component of that. So I'm sure, like many CIOs, we are always kind of competing for that ever elusive, bucket of talent that is in high demand in transformation. So ensuring that we get the right folks in and keep them has been another of my big priorities. And then along the ways, I get the chance to showcase certain aspects of where we're headed. So I mentioned the vaccine pre-booking, but also much closer to home in terms of AIS itself. Using cloud-based systems for, say, when the iPhone gets released every year, there's usually a huge spike in demand. And oftentimes in an on-premise solution, you may have, a suboptimal experience with performance, but with cloud and its ability to scale automatically, we're getting a lot. We had a very successful iPhone 12 and an iPhone 13 pre-booking. So that went really
Apple
well.
will be pleased to hear that.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're a great partner, and we certainly have a lot of demand for their products from our customers. Yeah, indeed. So I think these are the areas where we are starting to see traction, but it's still early days, and ultimately we have to execute well, and that's my focus. You can't relax even for a minute with all of these kind of ambitious challenges that we have on our plate.
And as you phrased it well, a heavy agenda, but I'm guessing a necessary agenda, because to your point before, it's not necessarily linear, right? You can't just do one thing and then go to the next. You've got to be moving lots of different parts. And just on that quick wins element, how important is that? Because we hear it a lot, don't we, on any type of technology, get some quick wins on the board, low hanging fruit. Yeah. As a CIO, to get your agenda across the line, how important is it to have those projects that have gone well, that have been quick, ticked all of those boxes that everyone likes to tick, alongside all of the other larger transformation projects? How important has it been internally for the buy-in?
Yeah, it's absolutely vital, I think, because you can't go on a 2 or 3 year transformation program and not show wins in month 3 and month 6 and month 9 along the way. So that's why I was very careful in what I chose. So, for example, when we started to move things to the cloud, I didn't move the most complicated applications or the longest legacy applications early. I was very strategic in my choice. I moved some of the lighter applications onto the cloud, almost like proof of concept, just ensuring that we knew how to kind of the mechanics of migration were well understood, and then kind of went into the heavy lifting only after we had proven that we could do some of the simpler stuff. Because I don't want a very critical application to move to the cloud, stop working, and then we're running around in a panic. So that was kind of the balance. Certainly getting things like I mentioned, the Apple pre-booking thing was a win of sorts, because there's just been traditional kind of like I say suboptimal kind of performances when you're on-prem, because you can never really predict the performance. But having that on the cloud was a big win for us also. And then just making sure that we're doing the right thing in terms of as we go into the the cognitive piece, using our customer 360 to differentiate ourselves with our customers and offering them the right products and the right services, especially as their preferences has changed over the last couple of years. People working more from home, wanting different things. The kids are at home too. They need to be entertained. Getting them into the mix. All of that, I think, has helped us in terms of increasing our relevance to our customers' lives.
Now, I'm mindful you mentioned, it's year one of 4 in terms of the migration, and nothing's overnight in this game that we're in. But as you look back on that telco modernization part, before we even, the cognitive telco piece comes in, what's been some of the lessons that you've learned so far and advice for CIOs in a similar situation, looking to start, not sure where? You've obviously took a very pragmatic approach to it and modernizing before you actually power ahead with the transformation as well. What would be some of your guidance around that initial early phase of selection and working out how you actually get the ball rolling, I suppose?
Yeah, I think in order, it's going to take a village to do this transformation. So you've got to have the right partner. You've got to have the right internal team. You've got to have support from your chain of command. And then ultimately, you've got to have the right people executing, right? And then expectations management and setting. I think you've got to kind of repeat the message to the business that as we're doing certain foundational types of changes, you may not get every single bell and whistle every quarter that we've traditionally been able to give you when we were not in this transformation mindset. And I think that's not an easy conversation to have, because if you're used to getting 10 or 20 new shiny things every quarter, and suddenly that's going to be a bit less, and you still need to be competitive, you kind of need to balance the two. You can't kind of totally shut off Christmas morning. You've got to keep balancing between new functionality and also kind of cleaning up our act, which is ultimately what we're doing in terms of retiring technical debt and making AIS more solid. So a lot of conversations, a lot of expectation setting, getting the right partners in. I think, some of the larger companies who have a global perspective and a point of view that you can bring to bear. They've done it already, perhaps in telcos that started modernizing many years ago. So there's some lessons learned from them that we can bring in. So certainly, partnering with the likes of the more well-known global SIs is also a good thing to do. And then I think keeping the talent, I think, is as you bring people on board and the time goes on, you want to make sure that they're learning, they're growing with you, and they're not going to get poached by the competition or by other companies. So you want to make sure that the work is meaningful. You're listening to people and retaining them. So all of this kind of goes hand in hand together. But I think when you want to embark upon such a change, having your senior leadership, your CEO in your corner, and the key folks in your corner, like the CFO, and all of that is very, very important to the success of a transformation program.
And Sanjay, what's important to you going forward? As I mentioned, this is an ever-moving project, and there's milestones along the way that you're clearly hitting. But as you look in the context of the end goal of being a cognitive telco, what are some of the next milestones and priorities that's top of your list?
So I think with all the projects in play, we have to be successful in their execution. It's building the foundation, building the base. So if the base is going to be wobbly, then the future telco is going to be wobbly also. So I have to make sure that I get the foundation right. I'm happy to if we don't get it exactly perfect the first time. I'm okay with iterating to some extent, but a lot of this stuff is kind of do or die. You kind of have to get your functional internal processes working. You've got to get your BSS piece just right. You've got to get your cloud just right. You've got to get your AI and ML just right. And then once you have those foundation kind of chess pieces in play, then the value-added things that ride on top become a far more easier project or integration play if we can get the foundation right. So I think that's really my focus.
And Sanjay, just to finish on, I think you've encapsulated it perfectly in that, the easy approach that, you could be seduced by the end goal of the transformation, but given what we've just said here, you've took a very pragmatic and strategic and responsible approach to actually saying, well, yes, this is where we want to be, but you can't get there until you actually do all of this important stuff first. I mean, that takes a lot of discipline as a leader as well, I imagine.
Yeah, I think it does. And, there's always the, you're trying to, move a technology agenda, but it goes hand in hand with a cultural agenda, with people's ability to absorb change, to feel fulfilled, pushing people into the discomfort zone, and, ensuring that they are successful. So all of these, I think, are, key components that I have to keep my eye on. And at the same time, I also have to run the existing business. You see, there's all the legacy.
We forgot about that, right?
So we have to balance the two. So we're doing all this change and re-engineering, but then we also have 42 million subscribers in Thailand. And, we have, you may have heard that there's a merger in the works between the number 2 and the number 3. So there's all those other competitive challenges and pressure that's kind of going on in the background or in the foreground, depending upon the day. So at the same time, we're pushing our transformation agenda. So all of these things kind of contribute to our, daily kind of ensuring communication channels are clear and open. We're not losing sight of the transformation, but at the same time, not losing sight of the BAU aspects of our jobs also. So it's a tricky balancing act, but I think we go day by day on how things unfold.
Well, you're handling it very well, Sanjay. So thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And again, I think it's very important to show that modernization element before we get to the part that every CIO is talking about and fixated on, but not necessarily all focusing on that day-to-day foundational work, as you put it, that is incredibly important and allows the rest to follow. So on that note, Sanjay, thank you very much. Best of luck with the continued project and obviously the transformation at AIS. And thank you again for your time.
Great. Thank you, James. Thank you for having me. And I really enjoyed the conversation.